2021 was a stellar year for indie games, and with so many releasing one after another, it was only natural to let some of them fly under the radar. So I decided to grab 5 of my favorites that I feel like are definitely worth picking up if you missed out on it last year. I'm going to break each one of them down into a quick summary of the story and gameplay, so you kinda see what they're about and if you'd be interested in them. But before I get into the video, I just want to say that these games aren't ranked in any order, and there were loads of great indie RPGs that came out last year. So if I don't mention one of your favorites, let me and the others know down in the comments below so we can all check them out together. Now that we got all that out of the way, let's get started. First up, we have Tales of Iron, a game I feel like wasn't nearly talked about enough for how good it was. It's a 2D side-scroller that's not a platformer, but instead more of a Souls-like game due to its challenging combat, that follows the story of a hero saving his people from a frog invasion, and it all takes place in a beautifully hand-drawn storybook art style in a very dark setting. The story sees you take on the role of Reggie, the heir to the Rat King, who's on a quest to reclaim your home that was recently taken from you by the Frog Clan. You'll travel around trying to save your fellow rats and repel the frog invasion at the same time, and instead of the animals speaking, Tales of Iron is instead told through art clippings and a narrator named Doug Cockle, who some of you may know as Geralt of Rivia. As for the gameplay, Tales of Iron teaches you how to successfully dodge, parry, and attack, and then leaves it up to you to master each of the skills. Tales of Iron also adds ranged attacks to the mix, but that's a little bit later into the game. As for the combat itself, it can be frustrating at times, but it'll never feel like it's unfair. You'll start to notice enemy patterns quickly, so it won't take long before you're a pro at slaying frogs. And if it ever starts to get too hard or too easy, Tales of Iron also offers a difficulty option of easy, normal, and hard, so there's a difficulty for everyone here. You'll also get to craft/find a variety of weapons and armor that will let you tailor a build to your playstyle. Tales of Iron is a gorgeous RPG that tells a great story of an unlikely hero's journey to becoming a king of legends. That's combat is very rewarding and never feels stale. If you missed out on Tales of Iron, now is also the perfect time to pick it up because they just came out with a free DLC update that offers new weapons and optional bosses. Up next we have Grifflands. It's a roguelite, but don't let that put you off before letting me tell you about it. It's a turn-based deck-building RPG that takes place in space, and its stories offer a lot of narrative decisions throughout that can give you several different outcomes, so it has a lot of replayability. The story sees you pick between 3 different characters known as Grifters, who are basically just space drifters, and you pick and play out each of their stories that all take place on different planets in a choose-your-own-adventure style. There is also a very unique relationship system between all the NPCs that impacts how someone acts towards you based on how you treat other NPCs they like. You can imagine their opinion of you if you killed someone they liked. As for the gameplay, you'll travel around a map system that will allow you to go to different map markers for different quests and events. And finally, let's get into the combat. There are 2 versions of it, physical and mental. Physical will see you fight enemies and possibly killing them forever in a turn-based combat using different attacks and debuff cards, while the mental side will have you persuading and intimidating your enemies instead in a battle of wits using different combo cards and other different attack cards. And after each battle, you'll always get to unlock a new card type for whatever type of fight you are in. It's a very deep combat system and it would take me a while to explain it all, but that's the gist of it. Grifflands is one of the best deck builders I've played, and if you're a fan of the deck building genre, you should definitely check it out. Any fan of Chrono Trigger, or any JRPG fan for that matter, should play this next one because Chris Tales is such a unique and beautiful experience. The story sees you take on the role of Crisbell, a young orphan girl who has become a time mage and is tasked with helping the people of the future and stopping the Time Empress. Chris Tales uses time travel in the gameplay, and they do it well. Basically, you'll explore areas where you're given the opportunity to help people, and it's up to you to decide how to go about it. After doing a quest, you can see if you made the right decisions by looking at how it impacted their future. You'll also be exploring dungeons and fighting in a turn-based combat system that is also affected by the 3 timelines on screen. The enemies on the left you can make younger, and the enemies on the right you can make older, which can change their abilities and make them weaker, or it can backfire and make them stronger. It's up to you to learn the best strategies and find the best way to use time on your side to win every fight. Chris Tales is an indie RPG that anyone can find many things to love about it. The next time you're looking for a world to get lost in, consider letting Chris Tales be that world. Next up is a game I fell in love with when I heard it was based on witches and Russian folklore, and that is Black Book. Black Book splits its time evenly between being a visual novel / choose your own adventure to being a turn-based card battling RPG. The story is alright, but it's the art style and the combat that sold it to me. The plot sees you take on the role of Vasilina, a young witch on the quest to revive her husband who mysteriously took their own life and is now in hell. She goes on a journey to break the 7 seals on a grimoire known as the Black Book, so that she'll be granted any one wish that she intends to use on reviving her husband. The gameplay will see you going from different areas using a map movement system with some opportunities to explore small areas for items and story quests. The card battling system is what you're going to be doing the most of, and it's one of my favorite. You start out with just the normal attack spells and blocks, but as you win more battles, you'll get more of the same types of cards, but when you break more seals, you'll unlock more spells similar to normal debuffs and attacks seen in other JRPGs. The combat sees you fight in a traditional turn-based combat system, and you'll always get to go first. You'll have to select from a list of spells that you draw from each turn, and you pick 3 to play. You also see your enemy's incoming damage, so you have to plan on how you want to attack and prepare for the incoming attack as well. When you start to unlock more spells, you'll start to discover some very broken combos, and I never thought it felt stale. Black Book was a real hidden gem for me last year, and I hope more people check it out because you can really see the effort the development team put into this game. Last up, we have an indie RPG that I almost overlooked, but I'm glad I didn't because of how fun it was, and that is Dodgeball Academia. This is a very well done sports RPG that sees you take on the role of Otto and his adventures at an academy well known for its dodgeball skills. The story sees you signing up for the big school tournament and recruiting members for it, and it all takes place across 8 episodes, which sees you exploring a well-crafted campus. The story is a little generic, but the clever writing and amazing character designs make up for it. The combat is the best part though. It sees you and 2 other party members fight against 3 others in a dodgeball match. You have the ability to dodge and catch the other team's attacks while also throwing and charging your own attacks. Both teams have a health bar, so you're not out from the first hit. You also have a very unique attack for each party member that fills up by catching the other opponent's attacks. The combat can sound simple, but it's very engaging. If you were put off by Dodgeball Academia for its premise or just missed it, you might want to consider finally giving it a shot because this is one that will surprise you. And that is just 5 of the many great indie RPGs that came out last year. If you missed out on any or all of these and end up picking one of them up or all of them up, let me know down in the comments below which ones you end up getting and if you enjoyed them. And as I said earlier, if I missed out on one of your favorites, also let me know down in the comments below so I can pick it up and give it a shot. And if you played any of these RPGs and loved them, then let's talk about them. I love all things RPGs, and if you do too, consider subscribing to my channel because I cover news, previews, reviews, and more. Thank you again so much if you made it to the end of this video. It really means the world to me, and hopefully I'll catch you on the next one.